Well, listen, this is super special, super impactful for me, Mike, that you're joining us here today. Mike Shinoda joining Brian and Kenzie here on Q101. Talk about this pretty special day that happened yesterday, where I guess my first question is, just get right into it, is how did we get here from 7 years ago and the process that you went through to bring this to everybody else?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Appreciate that, man. It was yesterday was like every emotion, all of us were feeling it. Like, it was crazy. It almost was like so much excitement and nervousness and all of these things that it was a blur. Like, I'm still processing what it was. I guess it goes back to I think I met Emily in 2019. And a friend had just introduced us, and she came by the studio, and we like played around, like worked on a couple ideas a couple times. And then, she struck me as like really talented, and I really liked what we had made, but the songs we made weren't like, they weren't there yet. Like, they weren't incredible. It was just, oh, she's good. And then, there's the pandemic and some other stuff that I had done. I started to get into like writing and producing with other people. So I was doing all these sessions with different artists and other writers and stuff. And I had met this guy, Colin Britton, in a session. And I went, wow, that guy, like, I really vibe with him. He's a really good producer and writer, and he plays like every instrument. And those two things just like logged in the back of my mind. Like, they were just like kind of in a folder they weren't on the desktop. They were just like tucked away somewhere. And at one point a few years ago, a couple years ago, 2.5 maybe-ish, I don't know, Joe and I had this conversation, Joe Hahn, our DJ, and I had this conversation about like, what if we just like started like kind of hanging out more often? Like, I made like the idea of auditioning people or, hey, let's get the band back together, was not the start. Like, that felt really stupid to us, to be honest. Like, that's so clumsy and like unattractive in a way of approaching things. Like, it's more for us, it's more about like, let's just get together and hang. And Joe and I started, Dave and Joe and I started. And eventually we started writing some things, just playing around with the little weird ideas and inviting other people in. And eventually Brad came in, but Colin and Emily were the ones that stuck. Like, when we recorded, when we recorded, we wrote stuff with a lot of different people just to kind of feel it out. And it evolved. The album From Zero, which comes out on November 15th, the album kind of evolved at the same time as the band lineup evolved. It blurred into existence in a way.
Wow. I mean, it seems pretty organic. It seems like you were just hanging out, and then all of a sudden it gets back to the point where the DNA of Linkin Park, it's time to come back 7 years later. And obviously there was projects in between that we've heard some new music, and you've done some things that we've kept us in Linkin Park world, if you will. But now you're at a point where, by the way, I didn't even say this yet, the song sounds ridiculously freaking awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The second that like I played the Emptiness Machine, I was like, I just have a feeling about songs sometimes where after I write a demo, I know it's different. I know that song is not the same, and whenever I get that feeling, I got that feeling on In the End. I got the feeling on Breaking the Habit. I got that feeling on Castle of Glass. Like, there have been all of these different Burn It Down. Like, there was all these moments where I remembered writing a thing, and the second it was like sounded like a song, I was like, yeah, this has to get out there somehow. Like, we have to put everything, we have to put all of our energy into getting the song to the best version of itself. And what does the song want to be? And Emptiness Machine was one of those songs. Originally, the demo was just me singing the whole thing. And eventually, as we got, deeper into it with the current lineup of 6, we put Emily in starting in the second verse, and it was like, yeah, that's the song.
That's awesome. That's incredible.
Now, we all know Chester is so loved and he's irreplaceable and he has that special place in our heart. And I thought you were so respectful with the break that you took, and it was so needed. Did you guys ever toy with a name change of Linkin Park?
Oh, yeah. So that's to me, like, was such an important question that we obviously asked ourselves. The main thing was that, like, in keeping, remember I said, like, we're keeping things very loose and not defining. We didn't define the band. We just said we were going to make music with people. That was our like MO. And as we were doing that, in the middle of the process, we were open to, like, maybe the lineup is like a moving lineup. Maybe there's multiple vocalists. Maybe it's a different name, like stuff like that. And then as the music came into focus, we were like, this is as Linkin Park an album as we could make. Like, it's so Linkin Park that if we call it something else, then we are idiots. Like, because it would be like misrepresentation. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'd be like, it'd be silly. And when people hear more of the album, like, they will understand that, like, they will know why we called it From Zero. Our original band name was Zero back in like 99, 98, 99. And originally it was me and my friend Mark. And then we added Brad and Dave and Joe, and Zero turned into Hybrid Theory, which turned into Linkin Park. So the name of the album is a double entendre. It's like, it's us starting over, but it's also us kind of like being in touch with the things we loved back then. Like, it's an energetic record. It's a lot of guitars. It's going to be so fun to play live. I cannot wait for people to hear these songs live. But yeah, that's the reason for that. And by the way, like, just to speak on the Chester thing, because I want to be clear. Like, everybody, they kind of have to say, like, things like Emily stepping into Chester's shoes and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't love that phrasing, because I get that she is filling a space in the visual lineup of the band. But I also feel like Chester was one of a kind. He's only Chester. And Emily's also one of a kind. She's only Emily. Like, when I hear her sing, she doesn't sound like him to me. She sounds like her. And that's what I like. Like, what I like about her voice is that it's very unique, and it sounds, I don't know how else to explain it. Like, when she sings on the songs, they sound like Linkin Park songs. That's just my gut. That's just how I feel.
Right. You feel like she belongs, not because she's trying to be Chester, but you feel Emily belongs in Linkin Park.
I feel seen, Kenzie. I feel like you get me.
I do get you. We also got to watch the live stream last night. I know a lot of people also got to see you live. It was incredible watching Linkin Park after so many years. How did that feel for you? Like, this new resurgence live on stage. I'm sure that was emotional in many ways.
Yeah. I mean, there's a moment, if you watch it back on Waiting for the End. I mean, I'm sure Emily's going to hate me for, like, bringing this up. In Waiting for the End, she got so emotional that she couldn't keep singing. She said she basically was crying in the song. Wow. So she keeps trying to start and stop singing, but, like, in the second verse, she completely stops singing, and she does this, and she's like going like this. It's because she's crying. You can't really see it on the live stream, but she told me, like, she couldn't get it going. She just kept trying to sing, and she couldn't get it together. And then by the time we got to the bridge, I take over, and that gave her a breath to be like, okay, get your fucking head together. Like, she did. And we finished the song, and she was back on track. But for a moment, I only say that because I think I'm not a big crier. Actually, neither is she, but I'm really not. And I felt I felt that way too. Like it were different moments in the set where it was very emotional. It's very powerful just to see fans. Like there were people in the audience that have been with us since the beginning. There are people in the audience who flew in from like halfway across the world. They got on like 14-hour plane rides for an event that didn't promise anything. The event was just like, come show up in LA. That was our table of contents. There's nothing. They got nothing. They said, okay, I believe in the band. I'm going to get on a plane. Crazy.
It's speaking on that, like, a little nostalgia factor of it, because I've been with you guys since the beginning of, Q101 and Jamboree in 2001, and did a little research going back because, memory starts fading of how you guys went from the House of Blues here in Chicago in 2001. And just 3 months later, you played Jamboree for 30,000. And I remember bringing you guys on. And when One Step Closer hit, I thought the venue in Tinley Park was going to collapse into the earth and disappear forever. Every single person singing every lyric to that point. And the feeling you had yesterday, you're talking about a whole completely different mind-boggling feeling, I'm sure. But also going back with Chicago and Linkin Park, that had to be a memorable event.
Yeah, man. Well, everybody thought it's because of our name. Americans thought we were local everywhere we went, but especially Chicago. Because there's a Linkin Park everywhere. There's a Linkin Park in LA. There's a Linkin Park in Florida. There's wherever you go, there's a Linkin Park. But in Chicago, that's the most well-known Linkin Park. And so people out there have just claimed us like we were their own. And I was like, why are they doing that? Oh, because of the name. And yeah, we had from the very beginning, we had a really big fan base in Chicago. And that big jump happened that year as well, where we were playing, we were playing first of 7, right? We were opening the show with nobody in the seats. People were just walking in with their beers. And that later on the same tour cycle, we headlined every single one of those shows. Yesterday's show actually was it's funny because cameras are so deceiving. Like yesterday's show looked really big on camera. It was actually only 1,000 people. It's a very small crowd. So to be able to take the show that we've got, which by the way, this live stream show was 60 minutes ish. Our actual show is over 2 hours. So, I'm very excited to be getting on the road with these songs. Unfortunately, we can't play a bunch of the new ones yet because the record's not out, but I'm dying to play the new songs.
I can only imagine. Well, listen, Mike, we appreciate you checking in. And again, I know there's a couple days. You got a show next week. I mean, you guys are going for it. You're not wasting time. Today, people will announce a show 2 years in advance. You're like, hey, we're back. Oh, we're going to play next week in LA.
We have a show at the LA Forum on the 11th, and then we play New York, and then there's shows internationally. All the info is on linkinpark.com, as you know, and more to come.
That includes Chicago, correct? On the more to come. On the
more to come. We will eventually. Right now, we're taking basically big jumps around the world and just playing certain cities. So right now in the U.S., the only shows we've got are L.A. and New York. So if you want to see the first one of the first Linkin Park shows of the new era, that's where you got to go. Hopefully I already know, there's a couple people from Chicago at the show yesterday, so I already know they're going to be at the shows coming up. And it's I'm sure you guys can imagine what a blessing and how grateful we are to have anybody give a crap that much to get on a plane to come see us. If anybody who's listening is considering it, you're going, I got to get out of school or work, blah, blah, blah. I will tell you definitively that we are going to make it worth your while. This is, I think, well, I'm very proud of the show. I'll say that.
You got us amped. You got us ready.
Well,
we feel great. Yeah.
I'm glad for that, Mike, because I think about you guys a lot, and I'm blessed to talk to you today. Kenzie and I are blessed to talk to you, and we are stoked to the new era of Linkin Park to see it here in Chicago and whatever else you're doing online. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.